What is going on, everybody? Happy Friday, Bobby Fi and Eric Sheetsaber. We are going to be talking about this 6-game and on slate on DraftKings, and it's a 9-gamer on FanDuel. FanDuel doesn't care about. Look, you want to go out with your girlfriend, you want to go out with your wife. They don't care. They say on Fridays we're playing all the games. DraftKings has been very kind this year and not had anything I think past 8:30 all season long, which is really really cool of them to do. Because I think that personally, it's my girlfriend's birthday tomorrow. We're going to do a party tomorrow, but tonight we're going out just the two of us. So my FanDuel will not be optimal, but let's start off with the good things. Sheets with a big win last night in the lottery on FanDuel, and Sheets, I know we were talking pre-show, but talk quickly about that, and then we'll get into the slate.
Well, I mean, the thing is, I mean, I hate to say this, but when people say, "Well, how did you do it?" I mean, I literally did it in front of everybody.
Yep.
Like last night. I went through the whole process and I made no changes. So here's the one thing to learn. Okay, for those of you who are here, you remember I made a couple of kind of portfolio management decisions. One was on DraftKings. I decided that I was going to use my custom ownership driven contest fields, and then I decided on FanDuel I was going to use their stock fields. And it turns out that my fancy schmancy personalized contest sims my DraftKings lineups got myrtleized. Okay. I literally had like one casher out of 60 in the lottery and whatever. And the FanDuel just kind of lazy and like just you go with Saber Sims freaking contest fields, bink the lottery. So I'll leave that to you I'll leave that to everybody to determine what that means. But to me, it reminds me that these guys do know what they're doing. with respect to their contest fields.
Yeah, shout out to SaberSim for that too. But that's awesome, man. That was great to see.
Here's the other I do want to mention. And the other decision we made again, and I knew this was going to happen, was the Min Uniques thing, and I went Min Uniques 4 on both DraftKings and FanDuel, and what I said is bound to happen in that situation did. So when you go Min Uniques 4, it's not like you don't get your top guys, okay? Because you do, but what you end up doing is you end up getting like your core, like as usual, and then spreading out all the other crap, okay? And that's what I ended up doing. Like my big exposure last night, I had 69% Miles Bridges on FanDuel.
Wow.
And he made 7 million fantasy points, okay? I also, by the way, had like 62% Elf Payton, who had like 0 fantasy points. Okay.
Right.
But because the rest of my core did pretty nicely, I was able to get all these little doodads. And so I was getting like 9% Kamara, for example, and he smashed. People ask me, why'd you come with Chris Dunn? I'm like, I didn't. I mean, I had like 5% of him, you know,
right.
but that and Scoot Henderson's, emergence in that lineup had everything to do with just me deciding to go the Min Uniques 4. And that's what ends up. It's not like Min Uniques 4 gets you like all different players you don't want. It's usually does keep your core together. It just spreads it out, to other players in what's not your core.
Yep, absolutely. And for what it's worth, like it was. I took the opposite. I took a very different approach, and I said we had some live sweat stuff or live chat stuff in the Discord, but I once I saw the LeBron, they re-announced him as questionable, or a game time decision at like 8:30 Eastern. I said, okay, well, I have a chance to actually take a shot at something, and I'll just bump up every Laker to where they should be if he was out. And if it doesn't work, they're not bad plays anyway. Austin Reeves was still a good play, but what it did though is it took me off of the Miles Bridges. I still had some Bridges, but I had more Austin Reeves than Bridges, and I had to make a decision early. And look, if LeBron had been out, I would look like a genius. If he's not, going to be a losing night. Simple as that.
So my construction was I had Bridges and LeBron, so LeBron again, it was really a weird game. And I thought he got 41 real life points, and he ended up with 52 fantasy points because it was his career high in turnovers.
Yep.
But as you perfectly pointed out, in a weird kind of correlation, it didn't affect me too much because I said Alvin Kamara. I had Kamara on the other team who basically got like all the steals.
Right.
So that's like more negative correlation, but it definitely saved the the LeBron tilt. Imagine having a 42 real life points from a guy and then being mad at his performance. You know,
Yeah, I had that happen with Clay a long time ago, and he was like back when he was in the 7K range, where he scored I think 35 real. I think he actually made like 7 threes or something crazy, 8 threes maybe, and only missed like one shot, but had less points than he did, less fantasy points than he did real life points.
Okay, so I have a question. I am just literally starting to look at the projections now.
Yeah,
I didn't even look earlier. I like to say I had some family variance today. I want to ask you about one guy who, before I even put these projections together, there's one place that has him at like really, really low ownership, and everybody else has him kind of chalky. What are you getting in general for Alex Sarr?
So let me just jump over to my DraftKings for a second. I think it's fine. I'm not going out of my way to try to. I have like 20% roughly,
okay.
And I have the projection at 29 feels pretty reasonable to me for SaberSim. You could argue that it should be a little bit lower, but I don't think it's. I think that seems.
What's the story? Is there like a thing
with Sarr?
You give him a play. You know, I'm just really starting to look.
He's not questionable or anything.
Is someone else out?
No.
Okay. No. Again, these are just it's like so funny. This is what I look at. I look at like weird little outliers in my numbers before I run them, just to see if there's anything that I'm missing. Let me just see one other thing. What about? Look at point per dollar before I do this again. So it looks like I'm going to redo it, but it looks like Wendell Carter Jr., right? Oh, so what about Kevin Porter Jr.?
Yeah, he's showing up a lot more on DraftKings now. With Lillard out, I did think that it was a little ambitious just to put it all on Rollins. And I actually have to rerun my builds because I did think the projection was off. I also think it might be a little bit high, but you're going to remember you're only getting 24 minutes of Giannis tonight, and you have no Lillard. So all of those Bucks are going to look pretty good against Washington. Rollins or Porter, we know that you can go one way or the other. In the millionaire day, that cost me big time, cost me a top, I think 6 or 7 finish by going the other way. Today, I'll probably have similar amounts of both of them. And that's just the way that I'm treating it. But I think that's where I'm at the moment. So they're Rollins is 600 cheaper, Porter more upside. Porter more we remember it upside, and so I think I'm going to be pretty heavy on both those guys. And obviously, it's a great matchup. I don't mind being a little bit overexposed there. I do expect Giannis in those 24 minutes to do most of the work, but these guys should, it definitely makes sense. And obviously, a starting lineup would help before we make any decisions. The other one that's interesting that I was curious where you're getting. Charles Bassey wasn't supposed to play today. He was out, and as I predicted yesterday and it didn't work out great, but like I did speculate that Biyombo would end up starting, and he's got it projected for nothing, and he ended up starting the game. He only played 16 minutes, but Bassey's the guy you'd think they'd want to use, and SaberSim has got a pretty aggressive projection on him. Now, I probably will lower it. I don't think unless we know find out for sure that he's starting or something. It feels pretty aggressive to have him just. He hasn't played in 3 weeks, and to have him at 24 fantasy points, I'll probably make it like 21 or 22. I still think he's going to end up looking like a pretty good play. So those are sort of the value pieces that are showing up, and there's not a whole lot of other value. It's Rollins, Bassey, Porter. Vince Williams is now out for Memphis. I'm curious to see how that ends up affecting the projections. I honestly don't think you need to do anything with that. I think Gigi Jackson will look okay. But I don't think it's a big enough thing for me to.
When was he announced out?
Just announced out.
Okay, so I have to read it.
Yeah, but it's not.
It's not that big a deal.
Not as huge. And then TJ's asking about Kuzma. Yeah, Kuzma in Washington, of course. Like Kuzma with basically because there's no Lillard and Giannis, you only have 24 minutes. Yeah, I think Kuzma makes sense. Kuzma's going to be one of the highest owned players on the slate. So I actually think in that situation, yeah, for sure. There's just no way that Kuzma doesn't end up probably like 50%, maybe even higher. And I think in those situations, the right thing to do is to probably project him down a little bit. I don't know that I want all that Kuzma. And Washington did him a favor. It's not like going back to Washington. We were just watching him on Washington with literally nobody, and he had he was 6K. He couldn't get 35 fantasy points. I think he can tonight, but like to have him projected in the 40s just feels too aggressive for me. So I downgraded him a little bit.
What was your overall take like when you looked earlier? Like, was there one game you liked or?
Yeah, so on DraftKings, the guys that I bumped up that I think are being underprojected because they're sort of hedging because of the PJ Washington. One is PJ Washington I like a lot. So I like the Dallas guys, and I think the Knicks. Well, now it looks like OG's probably going to play. I don't know for sure, actually. Brendan said that OG returning for the Knicks tonight. I haven't seen that official. Oh, there it is. He's in. Yeah. Brendan's always a step ahead of me. And appreciate it, Brendan. Always helpful. So OG being in, yeah, maybe takes a little bit of luster off the Knicks, but I think they're still pretty interesting. Look, it's a back-to-back, but they're playing in Cleveland, and they're big underdogs. And look, if this game is going to stay close, it's going to be high scoring. And I think Towns, Brunson, I think I'll go back to a decent amount of McBride. I think he's being a little bit underprojected. I don't think he's going to put up 50 fantasy points again, but I still think getting to some of those Knicks. So I like those guys. I do think the Milwaukee's hard to avoid. And then, as I mentioned last night, and they completely smashed. Bencaro completely smashed. But I'm getting to a ton of Bencaro and Franz Wagner.
Well, one thing I will say is that I'm gonna have to redo these because in the run that I just did and put them up here, Vince Williams was like the 4th best point per dollar play on the slate. So, so with him out, that's got to do something. I mean,
yeah, but it's just Memphis. They play a million guys. Like it's not right. Like even when people play him, like he can get there, but it's not like I don't think there's like any guarantee. I don't think any of these guys ever feel like safe plays to me. Vince Williams, he scored 20 fantasy points in 20. He was good per minute, but he hasn't played more than 20 minutes, and he's played more than 20 minutes one time this year. That's not great value in my opinion.
Well, let's see. So this is what we're going to do. So we'll do the same thing sort of as we did yesterday. So we'll upload what I have now, and then we'll have to do a few manual adjustments here. So again, we are going to create our custom contest field. Doesn't mean we have to use it. Remember Trump's executive order. Don't have to. Okay. All right. So 221 test. All right. So this is now what I have to do is it's creating the field already. Shoot. You know what I have to do? I have to manually take out Vince Williams from the contest fields also. But we'll get to that, I guess, later. All right, let's take a look at the lineups that we're going to build now. Hold on. Loading. Okay, let's wait, I guess. Okay. So let's just build 5,000, but let's manually take what's his name out. He was on Memphis, right? I have him at 0. Oh, well, I have him at 0 now.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's build 5,000.
I'm about to rerun mine as well. I just love Orlando. I have such a crush on this team. Not only do I like their team, but I just love that they get their lineups are out like the day before. We already know what's happening with them. We never have to worry about a game time decision. Why can't everybody in the league be a little bit more like Orlando? It'll make my life a lot better. That was the other one that was going around is that Austin Reeves was saying that LeBron always said he was going to play this back-to-back. And why didn't we have that word? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And it's not a good look for the NBA at a time where they're kind of already struggling a little bit.
It's a pretty big number for Cleveland to be favored over the Knicks, no?
Yeah, they beat the hell out of everybody. That's the thing. And the Knicks don't beat anybody good, really. That's the only thing. But I do think the Knicks have it in them to beat someone good. It's just a second of a back-to-back for them. I think Cleveland is really good. And I also think the Knicks have an excellent chance of competing.
Okay, so I actually left in Giannis with a 53-point projection just because that's what I had.
Yeah.
And thankfully I didn't get any anyway, which is thoughtful. Just want to make sure that so right now, if I did nothing, I'd be getting 90% Wendell Carter Jr., a good amounts, 80% Porter Jr., then Kuzma, who you mentioned before, Fox, Emmanuel Quickly, and then Paolo Ventura. So we're going to have to do something about this. So again, what that is, that's just the regular SaberSim high upside formula here. Again, I'll just eyeball that. I'm not getting into nuts and bolts of this, but what this is ostensibly is something better than just the optimal, points that SaberSim Credit created before they created the contest sim. So if you can't afford the contest sim stuff, this is pretty good to go by these lineups as well. Mm-hmm. But let's try to run the sims and try to compare these 5,000 lineups to something. And well, seeing as my own personal field lineups busted real hard yesterday, let's learn from that, and let's use the SaberSim ones today. Okay. So we're not going to make any changes to these fields. Let's just make sure that it's So whenever you see field lineups and over here, different fields, that means it's SaberSim ones. The only thing I'm going to change is, again, instead of alley-oop making it high stakes 20 max, I'm going to change that to high stakes MME, actually.
Okay.
If there is one.
I'm just going to interrupt real quick. And Daniel's asking a question that there's no way to answer. How many players should be in their player pool each night? That's not there's never going to be a straight up answer for that. Every slate is different.
Okay. So
how many lineups are you playing and what site are you playing on? And then there's actually no answer to the question even still, but you need to know those things first.
No, what I was going to say is, obviously it's a question from someone who's used to, either not using an optimizer or using one that's, one of the basic approaches. I used to think that way, right? When I first got started, like, what's my pool going to look like? How many players, And what I've learned is that I have everybody in my pool. Everybody that has a projection is in the pool. That doesn't mean they're all going to make the lineups. And then just because they make my big set of lineups doesn't mean I'm going to play those lineups. But I don't X anybody out of the pool.
I don't X anybody out except for a very rare occasion. But I think that the question of how many players should you be playing on a given night is that number one, depends on how many lineups you're playing. Number two, it depends on the slate, obvious. Well, it's 1 and 2. Those are 1 and 1A. And then it depends on obviously which site. And it also depends on how much variance do you want to have and how much do you not. Those are, I guess, the questions that would have to be asked back. There's never going to be a direct answer for this. It's something when I was coaching that everybody would ask every day is, how many players should I leave in tonight? I'm like, well, leave them all in, if you're using an optimizer. If you're not, even if you're hand building, there's nobody you should just be writing off. And in general, you should trust the projections at this point of where the industry is.
Well, here's a good example. Okay, so what he's really asking without knowing it is the min unique question. Okay, because this is what I did. I ran lineups. I did my thing. I simmed them, whatever it is. So I have 64 lineups right now. Okay, and these 64, and of those 64, it looks as though it has 46 players. Okay, all 46. So if I decide to get more diverse and go min uniques 2, min uniques 3, or whatever it is, it's going to give me more players. All right. So I think that you should at least start with whatever they recommend. Again, you start with the whole pool, but if you're playing 64 lineups, then on this particular slate, you're just getting 46. So I wouldn't say I only want to play 30 guys. I would just kind of let this run. But then what you could do, again, like if you go from min uniques 1, I guess, to min uniques 2, I imagine.
Yeah.
Wow, it didn't even go up, but maybe that doesn't update. It's very interesting.
Good.
No, it did go up. So here I got another guy. So another guy kind of showed up in here. But not as many as there's another 2 guys that came up. Now here's one other thing, and then you can get back into it. But one thing that SaberSim did tell me, by the way, is, and the reason they don't do as much of this min unique manual stuff that I do anymore is because they actually told us that the portfolios they're building are actually designed to optimize for that, and to give you the amount of min uniques that you need given everything else. So you could believe that or not. But that's what they're saying, and that's why one of the reasons why even when I go min uniques more, I'm not really adding that many new guys,
right?
Which is sort of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, again, I would actually say that I mean, in general, the higher min uniques should actually be somewhat safer. To be honest with you.
Well, what it is, I mean, it's more diverse, which means it reduces risk.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
When you don't get, again, it's so funny. I spoke to what's his name about this, Adam Scherer, and it's when it's so funny, like the way you have to believe that there's something to the way the two of us deal with our min unique stuff, because whenever like I win something, it always looks like it did last night, like one lineup, and then the next best lineup is like 2000th, right, or something like that. Whenever he wins, he's always got like 14 lineups, like all within like killing everybody else. And they're all like in the top 20, and because I try to compete against like when guys like that are in there. Oh my god, I got the whole freaking sandwich, whatever it is. Yeah. And the reason why one approach gets one way, one gets the other, is completely how concentrated you are. You know. Right. So again, like a lot of ways to skin a cat or whatever. I just, because I'm kind of like a risk wimp, you know, from running portfolios and stuff, I prefer to get the most diversification as possible without it affecting the whole portfolio. That's why I have this average projection here and make sure that if I go min uniques too many, then it affects everything too much, then I can back off.
Yeah, but also in general, there's a couple different things though. One, he max enters only. He max enters everything that he's playing. Okay. So we sometimes max enter, but on average, we do not average 150 lineups per thing, not even close. So we're at best playing 1/4 of the lineups that he's playing, or 1/3 of the lineups, I would say. That's part of it. The other part of it is I actually do find that happens for me. I mean, even when I won the million, I almost won the other million. Yeah, in football, when I won the million, I almost won the other million, the 555 million with a very similar build. And I also finished like 18th or 20th in the other lottery, you know, the other giant million thing. And then it really depends on the type of slate. But also, I do like to try to make sure I have like, it really depends on which sport it is. But in basketball, I generally find that I usually have a pretty decent train going somewhere or similar things near there, but usually more on the smaller slates than on the bigger slates for me, because I do like spreading out a little bit more on the.
So here's going to be like kind of like a user trivia question. Like if I was in the mood to do this. So here's like a trivia question for people that have been watching me and watching the way I build and things I talk about on these streams. So the trivia question is Bobby mentioned that, you know, that on days where he really kills it and like say the big buy-in, it's likely that he's going to have like really good lineups in some of the other ones too, you know. And for me, it's just not like that. Right. And if anybody, because I know Bobby knows the answer because he knows what I'm going to say already, because you've been doing this too long. But if anybody can like think about like why that would be for me, where I wouldn't get like that type of triple like binkness like in different contests, so people could like pause the video, I guess, and then they could figure out. The reason why that would be is because I've been doing this freaking autofill shit, you know, where and when you use autofill instead of direct fill, remember it takes the lineup out of the pool after you enter into the first contest. So if your best lineup just kills it, you're only going to get it in one contest. When you do it that way. So again, everything has drawbacks.
I also hand build my higher buy-ins, or at least to some extent I do, you know. So that's going to sometimes leave me with very different looking lineups than I do necessarily in the other ones.
Yep.
I did want to throw out something for people playing tonight. And look, this play is not going to work all the time, but I don't know why we don't just do it if you're playing on FanDuel. Just make sure you bump up Amen Thompson's projection. I'm never buying it that as currently constructed that it should be 39 as a median. And I think that's a guy who's been really, really good to me. But in general, I just think that it makes no sense why he without Van Fleet, why he would be continually projected like this. The really bad games that he's had for the most part have been when he's been on a back-to-back. And you can look at it in the last two. The last two back-to-backs, he's scored 34 and 24. Basically, every other game that's not a back-to-back or a third and four nights. And also the ceiling is so much higher than I feel like he's actually getting credited for. So if Amen Thompson's low owned, I'm always going to be playing him. Simple as that.
So here's another interesting thing that we I need to talk to Saberson about. I found myself that I got lineups with Giannis in them, even though I was getting 0 when I did direct. Oh, that's the other thing. Like if you go from direct fill to autofill, you're getting a different set of lineups. So you're not. So when I X'd him out of that first bunch, it's still making him available to the autofill build. All right, so I gotta ask them about that. I need so funny. I need a whole new tutorial like every 2 weeks with SaberSim because they change everything so much.
I know they do. And by the way, I've got a laundry list of notes that I want to have a call with.
There it is. Okay, great.
I need to figure out too.
Yeah, let's get them on the horn one of these days.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We'll definitely do
so
that.
Now we're doing FanDuel. I'm doing FanDuel. Wait, did I even? Let me just see if I even did the projections. Do I? Is anybody weird starting for freaking Memphis? Do we have to redo this for what's his name? For Vince Williams?
I mean, I assume that he doesn't start anyway. So unless somebody else randomly sits, it should be the same guys. It will like the only thing I really see that you could speculate on would be like GG Jackson, but like that's not really like a play that you could take a shot, and just hope it's a back at the back. Maybe GG Jackson gets the run. That's pretty much it. Like I don't think maybe it's a boost to Aldama, but he already looked good anyway. So I don't think it's that much of a boost. Yeah, that's sort of where I see it.
So we're gonna do the same thing with FanDuel.
And I'm gonna say, because I can see we got some new people in the chat here. I just want to throw something out here. If you're not late swapping as close to like within 10 minutes before each, and by the way, you're going to get different weird projections that are going to take a while to even out. You might get like a 90% of a guy if you do it at 7:15 Eastern, but like none of them if you do it at 7:25 Eastern. So if you're not late swapping as close to each lock as possible, you're leaving money on the table. And I don't think it's possible with the current NBA for you to be a consistently winning player.
I'll be right back, Bobby.
All right, do your thing. As Sheets' stuff is building, I'll just go through what I've got for I'm rebuilding my DraftKings right now, and trying to really figure out what I want to do with the so-called value, because I think this projection on Bassi, and I've seen it a couple places, a little bit higher than I want to go. I don't, but again, it's a later game, so we can account for that. We can find out who's starting later, so we don't need to worry as much about it right now. But it's going to be hard to play to not play at least one of Porter Jr. and Ryan Rollins. I also bumped up the projection on De'Aaron Fox. I'm just throwing. I bumped it up on Paolo. I bumped up the projection on Max Christie, which I just think was a silly projection in the first place. Although now it's kind of up a little bit. I bumped up the projection on Jared Allen. I bumped up the projection on Franz Wagner, on Amen Thompson. On both Thompsons. Asar Thompson on DraftKings, Amen and Asar on FanDuel. I bumped up the projection on Kyrie, and I bumped up the projection on Miles McBride and Donovan Mitchell. Those are the main ones for me.
Wait, Bobby, hang on a minute. You mentioned Ryan Rollins?
Yeah, you're not getting him?
I don't have him at all. Okay. Was he on Memphis?
No, he's on Milwaukee.
I guess I got to redo this. Let me just see.
He's the best point per dollar projection on the slate by what I'm seeing a couple places.
These guys have.
And I actually downgraded his projection just to try not to get a 90. I had 99% of them, and I just didn't want to get 99%.
Yeah, I'll do it again then.
I think you're playing one of Porter or him. I mean, it's not one where you have to, like where before when Giannis was out also. But it's probably a good idea to at least have some Ryan Rollins, some Gary Trent, some AJ Green, and some Kevin Porter. But especially Rollins and Porter would be the main two.
All right. Well, listen. I was gonna redo them anyway for Vince Williams, so I'm gonna do it again for this, and it'll take a few minutes. But I am gonna do it. So for those of you who are listening, you'll probably see a projection update at 6:45, maybe. And then that's that. So wait, and the Milwaukee was the first game of the day, right?
Yeah, Milwaukee.
Yep.
You got Cleveland started there. I didn't have Cleveland started.
Same thing. It's the same. And Memphis, Orlando also.
Yeah, Memphis, Milwaukee. Yeah. Really, the only later ones that you have to worry about. I mean, I'm sort of off of this Detroit, Miami, Toronto game. It's fine. I bumped Tyler Hero's projection up. I still didn't really get to much of him. I just think that okay, cool. I'll skip it. And then I think it's really the next decision you have to make is at 8:30 Eastern time, because I think that Detroit game is pretty live to be a good one. I think the San Antonio side, I mean, it's pretty weird with this Bassi projection. I'm not buying this. It just feels flawed.
Bassi?
SaberSim's got him at 24. I mean, you could talk me into like maybe, and what do they have minutes wise? They have him at 24. He's a good point per minute guy. I just think there's some variance there. But it is the second of a back-to-back, and if they do start him, it's going to be hard to ignore that. But again, it's a later game, so we can wait to adjust. We can adjust as we go. So I'm okay with leaving him in now, but I don't know that I really want whatever it was, 95 million% of Bassi. I'll just mention real quick while you're doing things, a few FanDuel specific plays. Edwards is still questionable officially. Tyler Hero's in. Okay, nothing there.
I'm getting all kinds of Cole Anthony.
Interesting.
Like he's my top owned player on the slate right now.
Really? On DraftKings?
No, FanDuel.
On FanDuel.
You said you were going to talk about FanDuel, right?
Oh, I was gonna talk about I was gonna start with the games. Yeah, okay, yeah, I got you.
I don't know.
I'm doing him like about with the field, I guess, like at 20%. I don't know. I didn't have that as much of him maybe as you do. But I don't mind it. He's 4,800. It's a pace up matchup at home. It's second of a back-to-back in a game where he didn't take control. He played really well. He put up 31 fantasy points. But
other guys,
he's a good play, by the way. Yeah.
Other guys I'm getting a bunch of is Jimmy Butler.
Jimmy Butler, I like that.
And then also from the same game, Brandon Podzinski.
Yeah, Podziemski, I'm getting a bunch of. I'm actually going to try to lower a little bit of it because it feels a little bit aggressive, but I agree that he's a good play.
What's the deal with PJ Washington? Seinfeld. What's the deal with PJ Washington?
He's been questionable and it hasn't really changed. And right now,
has he played yet since the break? I mean,
he's my second highest owned player. There hasn't been any games yet for them since the break.
Right. I know he was resting, through the break.
Yeah, I would imagine that he does play today. And
I got a ton of him. I got 49% of him.
I got 59%, so I'm with you there. The one who it keeps giving me, even if I drop his projection, is Walker Kessler on FanDuel.
Huh.
I don't know that I like that play that much. It's fine. It's just I don't think I need to get 60% of it, which is what I've got right now. That's right. He did get banged up last night. Thanks, Jake, for that. All right,
I'm getting some. I'm getting like 15% or something like that. How did those San Antonio guys do yesterday? By the way, like Chris Paul and Sohan and all those guys.
Let's see. Chris Paul had a good game. What's his name? Smashed De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox had a 56. Chris Paul had 40.
Did they end up starting Sohan, or what did they end up doing with him?
No, they started Biyombo.
Oh, right. You said that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but they did play Sohan 28 minutes. And he had 28 fantasy points, whatever. He's more expensive tonight, so I don't think he's as relevant. Vassell didn't have a great game. He did play 32 minutes, which is nice to see. And I don't know if this Biyombo is going to start it. I don't know what they're going to do starting wise, to be honest with you. I'm totally up in the air. Rollins and Green. Thank you, Brendan. Rollins and Green starting for the Bucks. So that is a little bit different than what we were expecting. What did I have actually? I had Rollins, Jackson. So is Jackson not start? Who's he starting over? Are they bringing Kuzma off the bench? Let's see the starting lineup. Rollins, Green. No, they're taking Andre Jackson out of the starting lineup. Okay, interesting.
So what is that going to be in the average man? By the way,
AJ Green and Ryan Rollins are going to both look pretty good.
Okay.
And I can leave this on, but I might pop out of here just in a minute because I need to. I've been doing the shows in the Discord for the premium members, and
okay, that's cool.
I think it's a nice, valuable little thing. Are you good, Sheets, or do you have anything else you want to go over?
fine. I'm just going to update my projections. And give it about 10 minutes. I still might not even get it done. I mean, with this new Milwaukee stuff, you know, like it's just hard. It's just hard.
All right, man. All right, I'll leave it on for now. Good luck.
No, turn mine off. Yeah.
Oh, okay.